Coming up on this edition of The Solo Show.
You guys got to start parking. You got how long are you going for altogether? 30 days?
30. Yeah. We leave the 1st, we fly back the 31st. So, yeah, the entire month of March.
Awesome. That is awesome.
The joy of being retired.
And broke.
This and a whole lot more coming up right now on The Solo Show, brought to you as always by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. The future is bright indeed. We're all of us dreaming of the better days ahead, and a part of your bright new future could be a move to where the magic lives in the greater Orlando area of Florida. One of the biggest decisions you'll make when considering a move is selecting a realtor who can successfully match you with the right home in the right location at the right price. Victor Naraki is the realtor who can help you make the move you've always wanted to. Whether you're a first-time homeowner or looking to move near Disney World, Victor is in your corner. If you are looking for an experienced real estate agent covering all of Central Florida, please visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com today and find out just why you should work with Victor. I encourage you to create a free, no-obligation account on his website. By doing so, you'll unlock the website's full potential and be able to enter specific criteria, save listings, and browse new properties sent to your email. Visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com today or visit his Facebook page, Victor Naraki Realtor. And don't forget to tell him The Solo Show sent you. Your attention, please. May I have your attention, please? Would Paul and Lisa Houk please make your way to Docking Bay 6 to board the Solo Show trip report? All passengers now boarding at Docking Bay 6 for the Solo Show trip report. All boarding, now boarding the Solo Show. And now, here is your captain, Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always. And joining me today, I got two guests in the guest host chair. Are you guys sharing a chair? Or do you each have your own? I can't quite tell.
I have my own chair.
Okay, they have their own chair. We're starting off with Paul Houk, and he was back in, was it edition 19 of the Solo Show you came on, and you were talking about all things goofy. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I was sitting at the bar, the kitchen table in Montgomery, Alabama.
Right. And you are no longer in Montgomery, Alabama, because you moved since then.
We have. We're in beautiful Claremont, Florida.
Claremont, Florida. Okay, I know a real estate agent that works in that area. Please tell me you used them.
Of course, Victor Naraki.
Celebrating Florida.
Yes.
Yep. Victor was our agent, and we came down, and we actually made his life pretty easy because we kind of knew where we wanted to go, but he showed us some other places which just reinforced where we wanted to go. So
I'll show you some dumps.
No, he showed us some really nice places, and it's like, yeah, still not what we wanted. So,
okay. So Victor did good for you.
He did a great job.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
And in our community, I think I don't know how many houses he's sold in our community.
Like 10, 11.
Yeah, something like that. He's done a bunch.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, he's awesome. Awesome guy. If you ever see him in the park, he's easy to spot. He always has shirts like I usually wear.
We have run into him in the park a couple of times. So
yeah. So say hi from Stan Solo if you ever see Victor in the parks. Also joining us is Paul's wonderful wife, Lisa. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stan.
And tell me a little bit, Lisa. How did you get into Disney?
My husband. I actually had never been to Disney prior to a trip that we did for my grandmother's 80th birthday in December of
85
or 86.
Okay, so you've been going quite a while though.
The whole family, my mom and our whole family, and my aunt and her whole family. So 5. My grandmother had 10 grandchildren. Some of us were married, some weren't. And there was one great grandchild. Mm-hmm. And so there were 23 of us that came down and did a real throwback here. We did a land and sea adventure with Disney. So we were at the Disney parks between Christmas and New Year's. Terrible time to go, especially for your first time. But
especially with 22 Disney people.
Yeah. Disney parks between Christmas and New Year's. And then we were on the Big Red Boat, Disney's first foray into cruising. Their cruises are a lot better now than they were back then.
I'd like to do a show one time about the big red boat and what all was involved with that, actually.
It was
Not
interesting
great.
and terrifying.
It was not great.
For people that don't know, Paul, can you explain what the big red boat is?
Well, the Big Red Boat was Disney. I guess I don't think they owned it. I think they rented it, and they started. It was their first foray into cruising, and the boat was red. It was a red boat, and we had some issues like on our cruise, like the last morning. Like the assistant server was sick or didn't show up, and so they gave us like plastic silverware in the dining room. And I have some great pictures I'll have to show you that we were like, I think we were in steerage.
You were deck 1 or deck 2?
We were deck 1 and we had like just a porthole, and which actually had a metal cover that you could close the porthole
and curtains. Thank God.
And we were actually at the end of a tropical storm, and I actually have pictures of the waves coming up over the window.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so I took the pictures, then I bolted the cover shut just in case.
You could see the sky, you could see underwater. You could see the sky, you could see underwater. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, I have no desire to do a cruise like that.
No, it wasn't. No, definitely
wasn't fun.
Definitely the wonder and the magic and the dream are much better.
Yeah. So it's trip report time. You two are going on, and this sounds like an absolutely amazing vacation. I am so jealous of this. So you're doing 3 trips in one, kind of?
Yes.
Okay. So when are you going?
So we officially we leave 1 week from today. We fly to New Orleans, and we actually get into New Orleans the night of Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. And
That's
so
March
we're actually
1st, I guess, or
March 1st.
Yeah.
And so we spend the night by the airport because we don't want to go anywhere near New Orleans during Fat Tuesday. So we move in on downtown on Ash Wednesday. We're going to go to the World War II Museum on Thursday. Then on Friday, March 4th, we get on the Disney Wonder to start a 14-day repositioning cruise through the Panama Canal to San Diego.
Hey, the cruise itself is 14 days?
Yes.
Holy crap. I thought it was 7 days.
Yeah. No, leave the 4th of March, arrive in San Diego on the 18th of March.
Holy cow. That is.
So we have 7 full days at sea. And then we'll make stops. The itinerary is Cozumel on Sunday, Grand Cayman on Monday, then day at sea, Cartagena, Colombia. Then I think a day or so is at sea. We go through the Panama Canal, and then on the other side we do Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, and then into San Diego.
Wow, that's amazing. So who's all going? Just the 2 of you, or is there a group?
Well, there's the 2 of us, but we've gotten involved, part of a Facebook group for the repositioning cruise, and I think that there's
on the Facebook group there's like 674 people.
Oh, wow, okay.
The group itself, and some more active than others in terms of posting and everything like that, but. They've got meetups scheduled there's a pub crawl that's going on. They have meetups scheduled for first responders. They have pin trading. Paul's going to take part in an unofficial 5K on deck 4 on one of the days. So he'll do a 5K run, and I'm going to be there with the matching shirt that says Cheer Squad because I don't run. And there's like 100 people that have signed up for the 5K.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are going to make some good friends on this trip for sure.
Well, we've actually met a couple that live in Claremont. They're probably 10 miles from here, and so we've actually already met up and had lunch with them one day just to meet them. And so, yeah, there's. I think the guy who set this up, the Facebook group, said that we're like 60-70% of the passengers are part of this Facebook group.
Of the capacity for
Yeah.
They're thinking capacity will be about 1,100 people for them.
Wow.
Because
and this is the Wonder, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So
The one that this is the one that we did the Alaska cruise on.
yeah. So that's not all you're doing though, because after you get to San Diego, you get more things planned. What are you doing then?
So when we got to San Diego, I was like going, we're really not that far away from Anaheim. It'd be a shame not to go to Disneyland. And so we're going to take the train up to Anaheim, and we're going to spend 5 days at Disneyland, because I'm retired military, so I'm able to get the Disney Salute to Veterans ticket, which is a 4-day park hopper. So we're actually going to do 2 days in the parks, take a day off, and then do 2 more days.
Nice.
And we're meeting up with friends who are actually our neighbors. They live in Michigan and they come down once a month, but they own the villa. The next villa is over from us. And so they're flying from Michigan to Anaheim, and they're going to meet us there for that trip.
Excellent. So now we're into 19 days?
14,
Yeah.
20. Yeah, we're at about 20 days.
We'll be in Anaheim the 18th through the 24th.
Okay. And there's something more you're doing too on top of that.
And originally we were going to, my brothers live in Northern California. I have one brother who lives in Sacramento, outside of Sacramento, and I have another brother who lives in Reno, Nevada, which is about 3 hours from Sacramento. So I'm like going, we're in California. We need to go see my brothers because, I haven't seen them I think it's been 3 years since I've seen them. So I was like, okay, so we found out that there's actually a train, Amtrak, goes from Los Angeles to San Francisco. So we can take the train. It goes right along the shoreline. So we had that reserved, and then that got canceled because Amtrak said there's going to be service disruption on the day we were going to take the train. Apparently it has to deal with that they don't have people.
Okay.
So we're going to end up renting a car and driving from Anaheim, go up the Pacific Coast Highway up to San Francisco, and then we're going to stay in San Francisco for a day, and we're going to go to the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Oh, nice. That is nice.
At the Presidio.
And that will be your first time at the Family Museum, and you haven't been in Disneyland for quite a while, I hear.
Yeah,
1999 was our last trip.
22 years.
Yeah, it's changed a bit since then.
Yeah, there's this thing. There's this thing called DCA.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see Cars Land.
Yeah, Cars Land is amazing.
I know everybody was like Avengers is
Campus.
like everybody wants to see, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. I'm looking forward to that. But Cars Land, I've heard, especially at nighttime with the neon, I can't wait to see that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, make sure you see Cars Land at night.
We're staying in the Tropicana Inn and Suites, so we're right outside the entrance to Disneyland.
Nice.
So right across the street.
Right across the street. So are you flying to New Orleans first?
Yes.
And then I'm assuming you're going to fly back from San Francisco back to Florida.
Yeah, nonstop from San Francisco to Orlando.
Okay, so you got a 14-day cruise, 5 days at Disney, the tour going back. I don't understand how come you're going south and then north again. Why wouldn't you do the Family Museum and then? Does that make more sense? I don't know.
Well, the Sacramento is right by San Francisco.
Okay. Then you got the Family Museum. What are you most excited about? The cruise, the Disneyland trip, or the? Well,
definitely the cruise.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely the cruise is going to be amazing. Well, first off, I've never been to Cozumel. The last time we did the Disney cruise in the Western Caribbean, we went to Costa Maya instead of Cozumel. And we're not sure we didn't get to do Grand Cayman then either because the weather was too rough. They couldn't tender you in. And we're not sure we're going to get to Grand Cayman this time because we don't know if Grand Cayman's going to be open. Yeah. So we may get to see Grand Cayman.
Everything's up in the air.
Yeah, we may get to see Grand Cayman. But I've never been to Colombia. So that's going to be exciting to see Cartagena. And then, of course, the Panama Canal is one of those things that you hear about.
Yeah.
But, how many people actually get to go through the Panama Canal?
So I have a nephew who had a 40-foot sailboat that he had in Florida and then through the Caribbean and stuff. And he actually went through the Panama Canal. He crewed on a couple of ships just to get an idea of what it was like. And then he took his 40-foot sailboat through the Panama Canal out the other side and then ended up in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to, when he went through the canal, was able to watch. There's cameras on all of the locks. And so when you know that the ships are going through, you can go and watch the cameras and watch as the ships go through. So I was able to watch as his boat with a bunch of other boats, because it was small.
That is super cool.
So when the Wonder goes through, it's the only one in there other than the tugs. Because it literally, those cruise ships barely fit in those locks. I mean, they've got like inches on either side.
Wow.
When they go through.
That's going to be amazing. And does it take like a full day to get through the canal?
Yeah. From the east to the west, yes.
I think it's 9 hours.
Like a 9-10 hour transit.
Because
you go through the locks on the east coast side, then you go into the man-made, it's a really big lake, and transit through then the canal, and then the locks on the west coast side.
Okay.
I was actually just watching a YouTube video by David McCullough.
Yeah, it's on,
talking about
on Nova, about the construction of it.
The construction of the canal, and it raises the ships up
85 feet from sea level.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Up to the lake to go across.
So one of the really neat things for us for this cruise is when we booked it, we of course used Becky Mankin's MEI and Mouse Van Travel.
Shameless plug. Michelle Cunningham.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. And we so we booked Deck 2 guaranteed. So category 9B, I think is what we were called, but it was Deck 2 guarantee, which means we didn't choose our cabin. They then assign it later on closer to the time of the cruise.
Because the way it works is, even though we, because we are only a silver Castaway Key, we couldn't get reservations as early as the gold and platinum. So by the time we were making reservations, where Michelle was making reservations, they were already to the guarantee. You couldn't pick your cabin. Right. And so it really sold out
really fast.
Fast.
And the guarantee is actually a little bit cheaper too in terms of cost for the category itself.
Yeah. I think I did that on my second Alaska cruise. I believe I did that.
Yeah.
Or was it the Star Wars cruise? Might have been the Star Wars cruise. I did it that way. It's kind of nerve-wracking because you don't know if you're going to be right next to an elevator or if you're going to be
right. and you keep watching you keep going in. Once people start getting assignments, you keep going and looking at the app, going, "Where's my room? I want my room." So because of COVID, one of the things that all of the Disney cruises are doing is Deck 1 and Deck 2 are used for isolation purposes if somebody on the cruise, cast member or passenger, test positive for COVID. They're then moved into a cabin on Deck 1 or Deck 2 and isolated.
Okay.
Until for whatever length of time. And so because of that, anybody who had Deck 1 and Deck 2 reservations, they moved them for us on the Wonder to Decks 5, 6, 7, or 8.
Oh, okay.
So we went from an outside stateroom with the big porthole to a deluxe veranda on Deck 7.
Wow.
Without having to pay the cost, which would have been about double what we were already paying for it. And to give you an idea, and as I told you beforehand, we're pretty sure this is the last transition cruise for the Wonder. It's probably not going to be going through. They're going to leave it on the West Coast. But when we started looking at the price of the cruise, the total cost for the cruise was only about $500 more than the cost for the 7-day Alaska cruise.
Really?
For twice as much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Partly because they're having to move the ship anyways. Yeah. So they'd like to make sure they have passengers on it, though it has become very popular. And there are a number of people on our cruise who did the eastbound. So they did it from San Diego to Galveston in November and have been on the transition cruise multiple times. Like for multiple years. So, and
not only that, having that veranda or patio, or whatever, is especially going through the canal is gonna be really cool.
Cool, yeah.
Just sit out there with a cup of coffee all day and kind of watch the ship go up and down.
Yeah, because They will actually, we were told, at least for the eastbound one, they close deck 4 because that's where the pilot crew comes on from Panama to do the transition. And so in order to keep them safe and everything, they basically block off deck 4 so you don't have access to that deck because they're on for the entire transit from east to west.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna wrap up this part because I want to leave a lot of room for when you get back. Any final things that you're really looking forward to before we sign off?
Let's see.
I guess
going on as a passenger and coming off as cargo. That's what I'm looking forward to.
and clearing the PCR test at the port. That's the most nerve-wracking part of the entire thing, is that 30 to 60 minutes while you're waiting for those test results to come back that says you are negative, you may get on board.
Yeah, no kidding. That's for sure. Well, hopefully it's negative and you're able to get on board. Otherwise, we're recording this kind of for no use.
Or it'll be a very sad part too, because no matter what, because we'll probably still fly. I don't know if we'll still fly to California. If something happens and we can't go on the cruise, we'll still fly to California and do Disneyland and go see my brothers. So
yeah. Alrighty.
So, but no, we're hoping to be a very happy part 2.
Yes, for sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Ken's going to play an ad from our latest sponsor, and we'll be right back after this. You guys got to start parking. You got how long are you going for altogether? 30 days?
30. Yeah. We leave the 1st, we fly back the 31st. So, the entire month of March.
Awesome. That is awesome.
The joy of being retired.
Man,
and broke.
Broke. Alrighty, Ken. Cut to a commercial. We'll be right back.
You've heard of Peter Pan peanut butter, but have you heard about Finding Nemo fish sticks?
I love Finding Nemo.
Yes, it's true. We found Nemo and cut him up into little bite-sized pieces, coated him in a crispy tempura breading, packaged him up, and flash frozen.
The orange color is super bright.
Finding Nemo fish sticks. Your kids will love them.
My tummy hurts. Mine too.
Now you can find Nemo yourself in your grocer's freezer section. Coming soon, blue-colored Finding Dory fish sticks.
And we're back. And more importantly, Paul and Lisa are back, and they're still together. They went for this whole month trip, and everything. It ended up happy at the end. After all, we want to thank Finding Nemo fish sticks for their ad. Lisa, did they have Finding Nemo fish sticks on the cruise?
They did not have the fish sticks. They had wonderful fish, but no fish sticks.
Yeah. Well, that bright orange color that they added, I wouldn't look very appetizing on a cruise line plate, I don't think. It's more for kids. So I'm assuming that the PCR test was negative and you were able to actually go on the cruise?
Yes, it was. That is, as everybody has said, that is probably the most stressful 30 minutes as you sit there waiting for that email to come through that says your party is cleared to sail. And then you hear, woohoo, and everybody gets up and walks off.
Oh, that's awesome. My daughter's on a cruise right now, and she sailed out of Galveston, Texas. But she had to do a PCR test to fly first, like to fly from Canada to the U.S. Right. So she got her test the day before, and then she was able to use that same test to go on the cruise. So lucky her, got cruise. She didn't have that stress.
And actually, Disney in the next week or so is changing from PCR to rapid antigen testing at the port.
Oh, okay. Nice. And you get to test at the port, or did you have to do it somewhere before you went?
At the port.
Okay, cool.
You have to test, even so kids that were under 5 who weren't vaccinated, they had to test there was a window of time that they had to test prior to going, but they still tested them also at the port. Okay. So New Orleans, you got there Fat Tuesday on March 1st. You were afraid to go out. Did you venture out at all? No, because we didn't get there until 9:30, quarter till 10 at night. We had a late flight.
Oh, isn't that when Fat Tuesday starts?
Yeah, well, probably. But we stayed at a hotel near the airport and didn't even try to venture. That way we didn't have to worry about trying to get an Uber in to downtown late at night.
And it would have been impossible because the hotel we were at in New Orleans was like 2 blocks away from the main route of parades. Right. And you can see the barricades that they had up around that had been taken down. And it was a mess. As far as trash.
So Ash Wednesday, you went out, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And is this your first time at New Orleans?
No, it's been a long time, but first time around Mardi Gras.
Yeah. So would you advise it? Not advise going then?
Depends upon. I mean, New Orleans is a great town to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Depends upon how much you want to party. I mean, if you're a big partier, then yeah. I mean, there were some people in our Facebook group that were on the cruise who actually did Mardi Gras prior to the cruise, and we were all thinking they were crazy. But
mainly because we're like going, I don't really want to expose myself to all those people before cruise.
Enough. Yeah, true enough. Yeah, that's for sure. So New Orleans, I'm assuming the food was amazing. You probably had some great things, but we got a lot to cover. So March 4th, you boarded the Wonder for your 14-day cruise. Oh my gosh, I kind of mad. That'd be magic. A 14-day cruise.
it was great.
What was the highlight on this cruise?
The highlight?
Yeah, I think you had like 4 ports of call plus the locks to go through, and then days at sea. You had a marathon to do. Did you do the marathon?
I did a 5K.
Yeah.
That's not a marathon. That's a lot less than a marathon.
If you see the way I run.
Well,
the way I run.
Well, you're now asking us to say which of our children we love better.
Yeah, I guess so. So how was the locks? That was kind of like the highlight you were most looking forward to. You mentioned in part 1. Was that all lived up to be, or was it? Oh.
Yeah, the exciting thing was actually going through them, because not a lot of people go through the locks, but the locks themselves are like, if you've been through a lock on the Ohio River or the Mississippi River or anywhere that there's locks, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just, the history behind the whole thing. And it's considered one of the 8th, engineering marvels of the world. So, I mean, it's not like seeing the pyramids, I think, because once you're in them, you're like, okay, you go in and they raise you up, and you go in the next lock and it raises up, and you go in the next lock, and, and it's not like instantaneous. So, the exciting part was getting to go through it and say, I've been through the Panama Canal, because not a lot of people have done that.
And there are actually cruises. We have friends who have been on cruises that they'll go through they'll go through the locks, and then they go into Gatan Lake, turn around and come back out. So not all cruises actually transit all the way through the canal to the other side. Sometimes they just go in and turn around.
That seems almost pointless.
Well, they can say they were in the Panama Canal, but it was interesting. So we got there, and Disney pays a premium to be able to have front of line access to the locks.
The ultimate individual lightning lane.
Yes.
I was going to say, that's where they got the idea for lightning lane from, was paid.
Luckily our lightning lanes don't cost quite as much as their access. They pay a 10% surcharge over what they're charged to go through the locks, is basically what somebody had shared. So we started into the first lock at 6 a.m. And so Paul went up to deck 9 and went to the front. You couldn't go on deck 4 at all, because that's where the Panamanian pilot crew was at. And so they restricted that to keep them from being potentially exposed to anything. So he went up on deck 9 to the front. And then I was in our cabin on deck 7. So I was on the veranda taking pictures. And when we went into the lock, the one thing I noticed is that they closed the gate behind you, and all of a sudden I see movement, and I look over and there's cars driving across. And I'm like looking, and it's one of the major roads that's through there. So it's like, I'm thinking, you have to plan your trip very carefully because you could get stuck there waiting for a ship to come into, because they don't move fast into the locks. You are you're creeping into the space, because the ship fits in with not much. It's about a tugboat width front and back, and probably not much.
Maybe 20 feet on each side. Something. And
Yeah, but so when the gates closed, though, then I would think that the cars could go. Whether
Right.
the
Once the gates close, the cars could go across.
So it's just the waiting time is waiting for the gates to open, the ship to get in, and the gates to close.
Close again. Right.
Then they start traveling again. Which is, I guess, like if you ever used a ferry, you have to
Correct.
for the ferry to come back. Yeah. So you kind of.
And
I had no idea that they do that. That they had they had like a roadway across. So that connects North America and South America then.
Or at least parts of the Panama. It's
because the Panama Canal is about 50 miles long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I videotaped looking down at the lock once I realized that they were starting to fill the water. And so I videotaped. And quite honestly, on the ship, if you were not looking down and watching the water rise, you would not know that the ship was going up. Unless you had some focal point that you were looking, that you would.
I feel every movement on every ship I've ever been on.
It's very smooth, and it takes about 6 or 7 minutes to fill the lock.
Yeah,
and then for us to then move forward to the next one.
Okay, you mentioned that you met I guess he was an ex-cast member that's now working for Disney Cruise Line. I guess he was now not. Well, he would have been a cast member before. Now he's still a cast member, but he's on the cruise line.
He's contracted, but with Disney Cruise. Yeah, his name was
Bruce Kimbrell.
So he had worked with Disney for 42 years and recently retired. And so he came on and did like a 45-minute talk every other day, talking about Disneyland, Disney World. He talked about the windows on Main Street. He talked about some of the things that are very unique to Disneyland. Some interesting things, like one was the lights by Casey's Corner are red and white, but but they're not even, and so there's one light they have to paint red and white. One side is red, one side is white, because they didn't actually have the number of lights didn't work out to where every light would be alternate red and white.
I had heard that. I never understood that, because wouldn't you just start at one end and then end up the other end? So like, you know what I mean? Like if the beginning is white and the ending is white, what difference does it make if the beginning is white and the ending is red? I never understood that, but I know which light you're talking about. In fact, recently they had 2 red ones in a row because someone didn't have white paint, or they didn't know it was supposed to be like that or something.
They weren't paying attention when they screwed them in.
The Disneyland community kind of had a fit over it.
Oh, yes, I can imagine.
And he talked about how timing-wise of replacing things, they replace the flowers every 21 days.
Oh, wow.
And then they replace the grass every 42 days. And then on Main Street. Yeah, and on Main Street, and I don't know that he set a set time, but on Main Street itself, the trees, after they get to a certain height, if they get too big, they'll take the trees out and replant them because they have to keep the scale of everything else. Sense. All the other ones, they let go. And then the lights, they change all of the lights at one time on that go around the buildings, and they date it when they do it. And at 86% of the lifetime of the light bulbs, they go in and swap them all back out again and then restart the clock.
I do that with my smoke detector, but I don't do it with my light bulbs.
Yeah. So it's really, I mean, it was interesting, some of the stuff that they do. And
that is so cool. That would be great. Now, is he staying on the Wonder, or is he going to be doing other Disney ships? Like if somebody's booking the Wonder, for this summer, is that something that they can look forward to?
No, he only did the Panama Canal, and then he's going to be he's taking the Magic, the transatlantic from Miami to Spain.
Okay. So there is a chance he might be on the Wish when the Wish launches.
I mean, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
But probably more of the longer cruises, I'm guessing he would be on.
Yeah, the Wish is going to be shorter cruises. So anything else on the cruise? I'm guessing the food was amazing. The service.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to say, what about the food?
Yeah, what about the food?
Oh yeah, let me see. The chicken tenders were wonderful.
They actually were.
The
French fries were really good. The staff was great, and the food was really good, as you expect. Mm-hmm. Now, so there are only the normal max capacity of the ship was 2,500 passengers. That's if every bed is full. We had 1,176.
1,042.
Okay. We had almost 1,100
Yeah.
on the ship. So, and then so there's like 900 cast members. So,
Because you were saying that deck 1 and deck 2 was being reserved for in
Right.
case everybody
Right,
had
for
COVID to
isolation.
use it for
and so
and then the Facebook group you were in was what? How many people of that?
650 people in the Facebook group.
So more than half.
So the guy that headed up the Facebook group had these small little yellow Mickey Mouse ear plastic
Medallions.
tags, and he put everybody's name in the group. He made them for everybody, and then had them. And so we picked them up. Plus,
something to aim for, Stan.
Plus, he actually made one for us for Olaf and Goofy. We took Beanie Babies with us, and so he made tags for them. But as you walked around the ship, you saw a lot of people with these yellow tags on their lanyards, so you recognized, oh, this is somebody from our group. Kind of help sometimes put names and faces together if you saw somebody that had, especially if they'd been real active in the group.
Yeah, that is so cool. That's a lot of work, man. 600 and some
Yeah.
tags he made for everybody. Wow.
And I will tell you, food wise, Paul had surf and turf twice.
Yeah, lobster tail and prime rib. Because the Disney, the wonderful thing about Disney is you can pretty much order whatever you want. Like I want 2 appetizers and I want 2 entrees.
We saw somebody who ordered 3 desserts one time. 2 of them they took back to their cabin. Yes.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
Now,
sometimes
what about-
it's hard to make the choices.
Well, that's just it. You can't make a choice. What about the the buffet? Was there any different than the cruises before 2020?
Cabanas is I don't remember. I'm before you could serve yourself, right, with the
Yeah.
cabanas.
Yeah,
So
everything had
now
its own
it's
label
all
and its
you
own
go
spoon.
and they fill your plate for you. You tell them what you want and they put it on the plate and then they hand you the plate.
Okay, yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I haven't heard for sure one way or another. That's good. I like that better, honestly. I think that should be the norm.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't a problem. You never had to wait. The worst part was having to wait for people to get the drinks because you couldn't serve yourself with the drinks.
Inside cabanas, just outside
Yeah.
cabanas, you could get your own sodas. They had the drink stations there.
You're the deck 9.
Yeah, you could get your own
Yeah.
sodas, but for coffee and hot chocolate, they were serving that part of
Now,
it.
how about like the soft serve ice cream? Were they?
They had somebody
serving it?
serving that also.
Okay, can they make it as tall as I can make it?
Probably not, but you could just ask for 2.
Yeah.
That was not the problem. It
and
wasn't like
not have to worry about it falling off.
yeah, you could just.
Well, it
no,
always falls over.
what a lot of people would do is go over and get a cup from the drink station,
Mm-hmm.
and then come over with the cup and just hand them the cup, and they would fill the cup with ice cream.
Yeah.
And then they go to Daisy's Delights and get chocolate chip cookies and have the cookies and ice cream.
Gosh, there's an awesome tip. There you go. I never even thought of that one. Oh man, now I want to go on a cruise.
Yeah, but we definitely followed the old adage of go on as passengers and come off as cargo.
Yeah.
I will
You
say
don't, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
14 days was long, and we had
Okay.
8 sea days. And honestly, towards the last couple of days, I'm like, this is, is it going to end soon? I mean, I hate to say that.
Mm-hmm. No, you're being
And-
honest. Yeah.
And I hate to say that, he's like, oh, I have to go to dinner again.
He got tired of shrimp.
I did. I got tired of shrimp.
Well, what about entertainment on a cruise that long? Like, usually have a different show every night. They don't have 14 different shows, do they?
They
They did.
they just about. I mean, let me see. So I made copious notes.
So they did the standard. They did the
Like the Golden
The-
Mickeys.
or the-
and,
Yeah, they did the Golden Mickeys. They did Disney Dream. They did the first show that they
They
did
did
was
Frozen.
the Frozen musical spectacular, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a great job with that. And then we had a ventriloquist.
We had a juggler.
We had a juggler. We had a circus. It was circtacular, so it was a circus type act. We had the magician. The magician performed twice. And they actually, we had one day that after we were on the Pacific side, that a storm had come across from the Bay of Campeche, and they'd actually had to slow the ship down to allow it to pass in front of us. And then they kind of changed the track a little bit to try and keep the ship as smooth as possible, which was not. They were testing the stabilizers that day, and
You would have loved it.
The cruise director called it the Disney cha-cha: 2 steps left, 3 steps right, forward, back, cha-cha-cha. That was pretty much kind of what it was like. And so they were supposed to have done Golden Mickeys that night, but because of some of the acrobatics and stuff that they have to do in it, they had the magician come on instead and switched it to the next night. So
that's why he did 2 nights.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking by day 14, it's like we're gonna have a guy balancing a broom on his chin. You know, live with it, folks. We're out of ideas.
I mean, the shows were, every one of them was good except for one, which was so-so.
Yeah, there was an a cappella group that performed, and then they actually, one of the cool ones was the crew talent show. So they had 6 or 8 acts from the people, groups, single and groups of people that performed, and they have some, and these were not regular performers. They were people who worked in engineering or housekeeping or, different parts of the ship. And some of them had incredible voices, and did really good jobs. And then one night, I guess they did. So we were able to see Turning Red on the cruise ship. And so one of the things they talked about, because Turning Red went directly to Disney Plus, except for showing at El Capitan Theater. So the only other theater that it was showing on was on the Disney Wonder.
Well,
so
probably the other Disney ships as well.
Yeah, and maybe the other.
Yeah,
cruise
maybe
ships,
the other
Disney
ships. But
cruise
yeah, so it was
ships.
on the cruise ships and at El Capitan, and then it went to so that was one of the nights of entertainment.
I always remember a cruise director one time telling me that we're the only cruise line that plays first run movies the day they hit the theaters. And the reason why we do that is because, well, we can.
Yeah.
because we own the movies.
Yep.
Okay, so after the cruise, you ended up in Anaheim, I guess.
We haven't talked about any of the excursions.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask. So the excursions,
Okay, so Cozumel, real quick, we did making chocolate and piñatas, and we got voted off the island because our chocolate did not turn out very good. Because they teach you about the chocolate, and you actually grind the cocoa beans, and you make chocolate, and something didn't work out for us.
We haven't even tried to eat our chocolate bar.
And then we went to Cartagena in Colombia. And honestly, that was probably getting to go to South America was one of the highlights for me. And getting to go to Cartagena, which is an ancient city, it's from the Spanish Main, so from the 1500s. And we did a tour there. A
very long walking tour, which somebody who uses a mobility scooter at the parks, I had to walk it because you can't use an electric scooter in the ports and stuff. So, but I powered through, and it was very interesting. We went to a couple of different museums. We went to a naval museum. We saw folk dance. We went to a cathedral, and our tour guide had a flute that he would play. So, we would follow the flute as we're walking. We called him the Pied Piper.
Piper, yeah.
But then we had like 30 minutes of free time that we could explore this one area that we were in. And he said, I will play the flute when it's time to come back together. So you knew that, well, he played the flute inside the cathedral. And he played beautifully, but it gave a very eerie feeling to the thing, but it was pretty cool.
So one of the people
is this still on the west or the east coast?
Yes. Yeah, just before we went through the canal.
So I'm guessing there's an awful lot of like pirate displays and whatnot in the museum.
Yeah, there were.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of it was in Spanish, so I didn't know what it was about. Okay. But and I was and the tour guide was kind of ahead of us. So I didn't get to hear everything. So
that's frustrating.
So we saw one of the people who performed is Meredith Inglesby, who she was Ursula in Little Mermaid on Broadway. So she did a concert of Disney songs.
On the ship or
on the ship?
On the ship.
Oh,
that
okay.
was one of the
we were still in South America.
Yeah.
No, that was
yeah,
that was the show at night.
Yeah, she talked about she liked playing the villains.
Yeah, she's Mother Gothel in the Tangled show for DCL over on, I guess, must be the Dream and the Fantasy. Yeah. So
she had a really good voice.
Yes. So then
once we went through the canal, so we were supposed to have gone to Grand Cayman, but Cayman hadn't opened back up. So that was a day at sea versus being in the port. They didn't open until the end of March to allow cruise ships to come back in. So then once we got through the canal, we had 4 days at sea, and then we did Puerto Vallarta and then Cabo San Lucas. We chose not to do a thing at Cabo, one, because it's a tender port. So you anchor out and you tender in. And I knew that I would struggle kind of trying to get in. Plus, pretty much all their excursions were more beachy type stuff. That's what Cabo's known for. Puerto Vallarta, we did a Mexican cooking experience, and it was amazing. They gave us a quick tour of the town, and then we had 2 bus loads that went out to this ranch out in the foothills of the Sierra Madres. And we learned how to make 2 different types of salsa. We made guacamole. We made our own tortillas. They had the masa ready, and we flattened it and they cooked them up. We did made refried beans, and we made chili relleno. And then we got to eat it all. It was lunch.
You gotta love the thought. We could hire somebody to make the salsa and that, but you know what? Let's just get the tourists to do it and talk.
and they shared they gave us the recipes, sir.
And the best part is like, and we could be eating for free on the boat. But we're going to pay extra to go out and make our food. I guess it could have been worse. They could have made us go into the fields and pick it first.
Yeah, exactly. Next, you know, they have you boiling moonshine later.
but actually, money. I mean, in terms of cost for a shore excursion, that was $60 a person for
Well, yeah, you have to do all the work.
And and everything, and then after we ate. We don't drink, so we didn't partake in this part, but they did actually go over and they did tequila tasting. Oh, yeah. So they had like 5 or 6 different types of tequila that they were able to taste. And it's like, our bus driver's not tasting that, is he? I will say that on two of the excursions, we were on these huge passenger, like the 40, 50 passenger buses, the big coaches. The bus drivers were amazing because they're driving these huge motor coaches through these little tiny narrow streets with cars parked on either side, and a lot of times two-way traffic. And they go around a corner and you're looking out the window going, we're really close to that car, but never hit anything. So they had it down pretty good.
That's great. Okay, so you arrive in you didn't dock in Anaheim. Anaheim's not on the where San Diego, yes. Now, how did you get from San Diego did you spend time in San Diego, or did you go straight to Anaheim?
No. Amtrak.
We took Amtrak up.
There's an Amtrak station really only about 2 blocks from the port in San Diego. So you could really walk it, but when you're trying to drag 4 suitcases, it's like, no.
4 suitcases, 2 backpacks.
It costs $5 to take a cab. So it was like, so we opted for business class, so you guaranteed a seat, and and
they feed you.
Yeah, and they actually gave you food. And what was it?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours to Anaheim, and then we just Ubered from the train station in Anaheim to our hotel. We stayed at the Tropicana, which is on Harbor Boulevard, and it's like a block from the traffic light where you cross over into Disneyland.
If even that. Yeah, there's one hotel next to us, and then there was the traffic light.
I was going to ask you about that. Is that a place you would suggest people to stay at? Because it's a good neighbor hotel.
Yes.
Pretty much directly across the street.
The Tropicana has been since 1958. Has been there, and it's the inside was beautiful. Yeah. It was very nice.
And location wise, you couldn't beat it. We would go in and we'd be in the park when it opened, and then leave maybe 1 or 2 and go back to the hotel and take a break, and then go back over in the evening. Or a lot of times we'd go to dinner off not in the, at the parks, but have dinner somewhere close by and then hop in. And it was 0.2 of a mile. So it was a real easy in and out.
I believe it's closer than the Disneyland Hotel.
Yes.
Or steps to get to the park. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you haven't been to Disneyland. Well, basically, have you ever seen DCA?
No.
California Adventures. So what were your thoughts there? Is this going to be the highlight before the cruise, or was this? I know you were most looking forward to Cars Land.
My new favorite ride is Radiator Springs Racers.
Okay.
It was a blast.
Rode it 3 times. It's so much better than Test Track. I mean, it's the same. I think a lot of it's the same ride vehicle and the same track, but just
same technology. There's more up and downs, I think, but yeah.
But the going through Radiator Springs, it's beautiful.
No Belgian blocks.
Yeah, no bouncing around. But
it was a very smooth ride.
And it's just fun. It's a fun ride. I mean, if you like cars, and the whole Cars Land is just gorgeous. We went back at nighttime when all the neon's on, and it's just amazing. Now we didn't ride either. We didn't ride Tomators or the Luigi's thing.
Luigi's is so much fun.
Yeah, we just
you got to go back.
Well, yeah, we have to.
An excuse to go back.
I mean, unfortunately, Pirates of the Caribbean was closed.
Yeah,
because for refurbishment,
remodel,
and the submarine voyage with Nemo and friends was closed because apparently Nemo is now in our grocer's freezer.
Yes, they found him.
So they don't need to use the submarines anymore. So I rode the Matterhorn just because I had to, and it was as rough as people said it was, but it was fun. I enjoyed the Matterhorn. We did the Web Slingers at Avengers Campus.
It was okay.
Which I think I like Midway Mania better. I think it was more fun.
Okay.
We saw the show that they do. They have a Doctor Strange show. Mm-hmm. We saw it twice. It's about a 15-minute long show. It's outdoors. It's in a separate area. It holds maybe 100 people. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, first off, the guy they have playing Doctor Strange, they have him, he has a wig on and stuff, but he has a little goatee and he looks a lot like Doctor Strange. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the effects they do are really cool. And
we saw it twice and both shows were different.
Right.
Oh, the way he did it the one time was different than when we went back the second time and saw it with our friends.
And the recommendation is to see it at nighttime because the lighting effects are a lot better when it's dark than during the day.
So there's a good tip for sure. Did you get the chance to see that swinging Spider-Man?
Yes, we did.
Yep.
That's got to be unbelievable.
It was cool. I videotaped it, but I lost him in the frame because I did not expect the animatronic to go up as high as it did. So it went. I mean,
it happens really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's. But the Spider-Man show itself, the guys who's doing it, it's funny.
He does good crowd interaction and stuff.
So between Marvel Land and Cars Land, I know that you were both saying that the Cars Land was what you were most looking forward to. What did you prefer?
Oh, Cars Land, because Cars Land was definitely more themed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Avengers Campus it's just more plain.
Oh, okay.
It's like a lot of just buildings.
We did get an incredible chocolate bar at the Pim Test Kitchen.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it was huge.
Yeah, the Choco, whatever it was, it was delicious. Yeah, definitely get it. It's like $7.50, but the thing was huge.
It was at least 10 inches long, or 9 or 10 inches. Yeah, I mean, it was
worth
big.
every penny.
I'll send you a picture I took a picture of Paul holding it up next to his head. I'll send you a picture of it.
Perfect. The other, plus you got the Cozy Cone.
And I will tell you that unfortunately, I did not get anything at the Cozy Cones I wanted to.
Oh my gosh, you were there 4 days.
But the people we were with, we went other places. I kept going, I want to go to the Cozy, and we ended up doing other things.
We ate at Flo's V8.
Yeah.
That was good.
The fried chicken at Flo's V8 was excellent.
And the mashed potatoes.
I'm trying to think if I've ever eaten at Flo's. I don't think I have.
It was good. When we were at Disneyland, one of the things, so Faye and I both rented scooters from, there was a place right next to our hotel that had them. So we had scooters. So we would go into Disneyland and we parked the scooter for the first ride we did was Snow White or
Yep. Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland.
So the first day we went to Disneyland, we went straight to Fantasyland to ride all the rides they don't have at Disney World.
Yeah. Mr. Toads and
Yeah.
Canal boats.
And so
boats,
we parked at Alice in Wonderland, and then you go in through the exit, and we did that one. We came out, and then we went over to
I think canal boats.
the canal boats, and then they had us park the scooters in a special spot, and then they moved them for us. But then the next like 3 or 4, Pinocchio, Snow White,
Mr. Toad.
I'm trying to remember if there was another one. There was one place we just parked the scooters in one spot, and then those rides. That's the one big difference with Disneyland versus Disney World. Everything is so compact that those rides were right there. So within the first probably hour and a half or so, we knocked out 7 or 8 rides because it was just all right there.
That's why I love Disneyland so much more. I shouldn't say so much more, but I like my favorite park is probably Disneyland of all the American parks.
I will tell you the highlight of Disneyland, riding the train. We rode the train twice. We were like, we're on the train again. Because it's been a good 3 or 4 years since we've been able to ride the train down here. So
Did you know about the dinosaur area on that train?
Yeah, I mean the
Extinct.
going through the Grand Canyon and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was there. My first time riding the train in Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So when we get it, where are we? What's going on here? And there's dinosaurs all of a sudden.
So I went when I was 4 years old. My family went to the New York's World Fair. So in the New York World Fair, I'm sure that we saw Mr. Lincoln. We did Carousel of Progress. We did Small World. And I remember driving through the Ford had their pavilion where they actually they drove through the dinosaurs. And so of those 4 things, Mr. Lincoln, the dinosaurs, Small World are all at Disneyland now. Mm-hmm. And then Carousel of Progress is at Disney World. So I've redone all the things I did at the 64 World's Fair. I've gotten to redo. Yeah. So I thought that was neat.
That's cool. That is cool for sure. Did you do?
So we did Mr. Lincoln, of course. You had to do that one.
And that was cool. And a lot of what was said way back when he did the stuff back then applies today. So much.
It's been so long since I've seen the Mr. Lincoln.
It's like an American Adventure Light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
is what it's like.
Yeah.
I might have actually fell asleep. Did you do Autopia?
No.
See, that is something that I kind of like. Well, they have Autopia. They have like in Disney World they have the go karts, whatever you call it. But my daughter wanted to do it, so I was like, okay, fine, we'll do it. I was impressed on how much better the one in Disneyland is compared to the one.
And the cars are different. Also, they have all different designs.
Yeah, and it's not all flat. There's like hills and whatnot. It's actually it's something I really suggest Disney World people do.
Yeah, we walked by it and smelled it several times.
Yeah, it has the same smell.
Yeah. We did ride the monorail.
Yep.
Which the monorail is totally different at Disneyland, of course, because you're not using it from park to park necessarily. So we did.
And we did
it's a lot shorter. You have to really duck down to get in.
Yes.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
And then we did Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we did Indiana Jones back in 1999, I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. And we rode it this time, and I'm like, this is not a lot of fun.
Too bumpy.
It reminded me why I don't like Dinosaur. It jerks you all around and bounces you. And, the theming is a lot different, but you go through it so fast, you don't really get to notice a lot of it.
See, I really like that one because that's like the most intense attraction I can do.
You can do that one?
Oh yeah. I enjoy that one.
No.
How about table service? Did you hit any table service spots?
We ate at, what was the name of the one restaurant there in Frontierland?
Oh, Bell.
I don't remember.
You didn't write it down?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it. It was one of the restaurants there real close to
Liberty
New Orleans Square.
Blue Bayou?
Not Blue Bayou. Is one that overlooks the rivers of America. And
Okay.
it was okay. It was good.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Disneyland before we move on to the
Churros.
next part of this?
We got churros. Churros are really good.
Yeah,
we got a corn dog too.
Okay. Did you get it from the Red Wagon, or did you?
Yes,
get it from,
and unfortunately,
what was
I only
your
got
thoughts?
one, so I had to share it. I wish I'd gotten two. Then I wouldn't have had to share it.
Was the
I thought
line
it was
insane?
delicious. Huh?
Was the line insane for it?
It has mobile order.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so, yes, the line was very long, and I mobile ordered and picked it up in 15 minutes.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, yeah, mobile order worked great. People are standing in line for stuff, and I'm like, I just mobile ordered and just walked up. And
Yeah, no kidding. I know.
the Incredicoaster was incredible, too.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you've never rode the Incredicoaster.
I've never done the Incredicoaster.
But it was
a Ferris wheel.
It was a fun roller coaster. Roller coaster.
We did the Ferris wheel, but when Red Rose Tavern?
No.
River Bell Terrace. That's where we ate. The table service was River Bell
Okay,
Terrace.
is that the one that sells the I want to say beignets, but they're not beignets.
No.
The sandwich.
Oh, the Monte Cristo?
Yes.
No, that's the Blue Bayou, I believe, has the Monte Cristo.
No, I don't think Monte Cristo has. I don't think it's that one. Anyways,
Or is it
okay.
the Plaza?
I think it might be the Plaza. It's very Blue Bayou was kind of darker, and the other one that had the Monte Cristo was more bright. I remember.
But yeah, so
I was just following the group.
So we rode the Ferris wheel, the Pixar Pal Around.
Now, did you do the swinging car or the regular car?
So I rode it once, Paul rode it twice. The first time it was like, we're looking at it and we're doing stationary because we had just gotten off the ship and I'm trying to get rid of that motion and I am not going to be rocking back and forth. And so we did that with our friends that had come from Michigan. We went back and met up with the friends from the cruise who were up there also. And Rob likes to ride roller coasters. So that's part of why we met up, is so that, Paul and Rob, if they wanted to, they could. Fran doesn't ride roller coasters, and I'm not a big one. So they're like, Rob's like, I kind of want to do the rocking one. And there's
No, I don't. We walked up and it was kind of
shorter.
The line for the rocking was shorter. And so we did the rocking, and Stan, don't do the rocking. Whatever you do, Stan, don't do the rocking.
I was sitting down below watching these things going, I'm getting sick just watching them.
I'm deep breathing the entire time going, oh, please don't throw up. Please don't throw up.
Like, I don't get the thrill. Like, what is wrong with people that want to do that?
It was awful. Oh, it was awful.
They're young and foolish and stupid.
Oh. It was awful. I was so glad to get off of that and said never again.
Yeah, my daughter did the fair. I think she did the stationary though. I wasn't.
The stationary was fine.
Stationary's fine. Yeah,
I had num num cookies while she did that. Who won?
And the other fun thing about Disney, about Pixar Pier, is that Mr. Potato Head is outside at Midway Mania, not inside the queue. So you could just stand there, and they had somebody who apparently was, watching, because all of a sudden he would be like, "Hey, you with the hat," and you with the red checked shirt, and the person would be like, "What?" And yeah, you, and they'd start talking to the people who are standing there, which was really fun.
Well, if you wear shirts like I do, you get called out every single time.
I'm sure.
He'll call on you for sure if you're wearing a shirt like I wear.
And then I was the only one who did the Mission Breakout, the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. That's the retheming of the Tower of Terror they have there.
And how was that?
It was fine, except that it broke down while I was in line, and I had to sit for an extra 30 minutes waiting for them to get it running again.
Okay.
But it was fun. I mean, it was cute. It was.
Yeah.
I can understand why they didn't like the Tower of Terror version of it, because it's nothing like Walt Disney World's.
What do you mean?
You just go right into the lift, which you would not know about since you've never done that ride. But the Disney World one, you wander through the building, you do different show scenes before you get to the lift tower.
Oh, okay.
And this one, you load and you're in the lift tower, and it just starts jumping you up and down. So you don't have
how's the queue for it?
Huh?
How's the queue for Guardians?
It was really a nice queue. I mean, they redid the what would be the library. They redid it so it looked like the collector's place. You know, his collection, and they had like a movie which showed the Guardians being captured by him and being put on display, and so.
Yeah, I think I'll do the queue next time I go, and then I'll just take the.
Yeah, the queue would be worth it, and then just chicken out.
Yeah. I've done that at Tower of Terror a couple of times where I've just done the queue, walking up those steps just to take the elevator down.
Yeah. There's still an elevator.
Yeah. So next on the trip was you drove from LA to San Francisco. That was the plan. Is that what ended up happening?
Yes. Yep.
How was that drive? I hear it could be white knuckle time sometimes.
Well, we ended up not doing the Pacific Coast Highway like we had planned because the traffic getting out of LA was lovely. We just got stuck in traffic, and we left later than we thought we were going to. And by the time we figured out, well, if we take the Pacific Coast Highway, we're going to be driving it in the dark. And I was not excited about that. So we ended up just staying on the 101. We moved over at Santa Barbara, or was it Ventura, where we, instead of going on the Highway 1, we went over to 101.
We were on 1 until about the time where you picked up San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where we stayed on the 101. When we were first leaving LA, we actually had marine layer. And so you couldn't even see the coast. So marine layer is the fog rolls in off of the ocean.
Okay, gotcha.
And so you couldn't even see.
You could see the ocean.
You couldn't. Yeah, we're driving along, and you knew that there was ocean out there, but you couldn't see it just because the fog was so heavy.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then it rolled back in as we were coming into San Francisco. Mm-hmm. We started picking it back up. So again, probably the most white knuckle part was driving at night into Emeryville to our hotel on Interstate, 80 or 580 or 280 or 680 or one of the 80, because there's a whole bunch of them right around there. So he had the GPS going and I had it on my phone, and his had the map, and I'm doing the steps going, okay, in this many, you're going to be this way, and then you're going to have to be on this lane because you have to turn left or right or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that was a little bit more exciting.
But it wasn't awful. So and then we went to the Family Museum.
That's what I was about to say. So the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we spent 4 hours there, and because I knew an awful lot about the family, knew a lot of the history and things. The parts of it were like, oh yeah, I already know a lot of this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But getting to see they have one of the 3 multi-plane cameras that are in existence. And I didn't realize the multi-plane cameras are massive, like 2-story tall.
Yeah, they have one at Hollywood Studios, but was that a model of one?
That's got to be a model, because the one, this thing is, it was 2 stories tall and like 10 feet wide and 5 feet deep, and it's steel and it has motors for raising all the different levels of the. So yeah, that was cool to see that. And then they had the Carrollwood, all the train, the Carrollwood Pacific train, so the Lily Bell and all the cars. So I've seen one of the cars they have at Wilderness Lodge at the Iron Spike Room in the DVC building in Boulder Ridge. So they have one of the cars from there, but this is the rest of them.
We're actually on next week's show, on the solo show, we're going to be talking about the Walt Disney barn and the railroad. So that's something to look forward to. And but he mentions that the Family Museum does have the Lily Bell and most of the cars, and there are some in Walt Disney World as well to see. Super interesting.
And it was interesting too, because you got not just Walt going forward from like Disneyland on, but you got a lot more of the background history of him. So it's information about his dad and uncles and even his grandparents, and where the family started over, like in Italy area,
Ireland
or whatever, where they started over in Europe and then came over. And so a lot of that history was in there, and just things, and just seeing some of the pictures that the family has shared and some of the memorabilia that they've shared, and sketch designs behind Goofy and Jiminy Cricket and some of that.
You know what? They have the Snow White Oscar.
Mm.
Oh, cool.
The one with the Oscar and then the seven
and all
little
those,
Oscars.
and all those 7 little ones. They had that.
They have that there. That's like in the first room, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Just see that, because you've seen that so many times. Like, oh, Mr. Disney, aren't you so proud? I could just bust.
So
they actually had that at D23 at the Walt Disney Museum at Hollywood Studios. They had those Oscars there on one of my visits.
Okay.
And it is so cool to see that.
Yes.
The 7 little ones. Yeah.
So when we first got there, while we were waiting, I got a wheelchair from them, so I used it as a walker, and then I could sit, and I just kind of pushed myself around. While we were waiting for that to come out, Paul went into the gift shop. And I had to drag him out of the gift shop pretty much. And then
I could not believe they have a lot of books.
Yeah.
Oh,
a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So it was.
What amazes me about the family museum I've never been, but from the pictures I've seen in the videos I've watched, is the Walt Disney family must have been like hoarders. Like, the amount of stuff they have in there. Like, this is Walt's first attempt at drawing Goofy.
Right.
Seriously, you kept that? This is his number 2 pencil from grade 4.
Because they had like copies of like letters that he sent his mother from when he was in France with the Red Cross in 1918. And stuff like that, and all these. The yearbook that he was on the staff with in high school, not the yearbook, but the high school newspaper and, stuff. Yeah, really. Maybe they just thought he was going to be famous. Maybe he said, I'm going to hang on to this. Somebody will be interested.
They held on to everything.
What's all the stuff that's behind you, Stan? Let me see. Kermit the Frog.
Speaking of being a hoarder.
How many Kermit the Frogs can a man need?
But you would think with as many times as the family moved around that they wouldn't have had some of that stuff.
But they also had a studio.
That's true.
He had a studio to store all the stuff in. But,
but it's great that they held on to all this stuff, because now we get to appreciate it.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. But on the part where you walk, the very end of it, and this is still always gets me, is his death.
Oh yeah. Walking through the
and they had one room that just had all the different cartoons from around the world, the editorial cartoons when he died, and just the story, and they talk about the story going and everything, and every time I hear that, I just like get choked up.
And they had his bench there.
Oh yeah, they had one of the benches
the park benches that he would sit
from
in.
Griffith Park.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a picture of myself sitting on it, because they said, sit on it, take pictures. It's like, okay, I will.
Yeah, it's a bench. It's not use it.
And that was, so that in some ways it's kind of like, it was okay. Then other parts, it was like, oh my gosh, this is just so cool. This is like seeing this, and just getting to experience it.
And a big tip, just for those people who listen to your show who may be active duty or retired military, your admission to the Disney Family Museum is free.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yep. He just had to, we set it up when we made the reservation. We said that, he was retired military, and he just had to show his ID when we were going in, and it was free for us to get in there.
You didn't have to demonstrate how to use a hand grenade or anything like that. They just
no. I didn't have to, take anybody down.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that is so great. So after this, I guess you visit some family. We're kind of have to wrap this up soon.
Yeah. They were fine.
They were fine. That's good to know.
He hadn't seen his brothers for 3 years, but it was good visits. I hadn't seen his one brother for 12 years. So
oh wow, okay.
It was a good visit.
Yeah.
And
you flew home from
San Francisco.
You said the museum you did 4 hours. Is that enough time? Too much time? Or was that just right? What do you
Yeah, I think because I pretty much, in 4 hours I got through everything. Mm-hmm. One thing that we didn't know about until after we got there is that there's actually an app that you can get which has an audio tour.
Okay.
That will walk you through, but you have to have headphones. And Lisa didn't realize that they had this app until we were like already
on the
there.
road, yeah.
And it's like our headphones were we had left in the room. So that would have been nice to have had that.
So if you're an inspiring young entrepreneur, sell headphones right outside the family museum.
Put a little cart outside the presidio outside.
How to download the audio tour and then sell headphones. That
right
was
on.
a smart idea.
That is good. So I saw on your Facebook page that you were able to get first class seats on the way home.
Oh, yes. Yeah. With a 5.5 hour flight, Alaska Air is very unique that on certain days, their first class rates are a lot lower. So to give you an idea, for us, it was $549 one way first class for a 5.5 hour flight from San Francisco to Orlando, nonstop. If we had flown on the days either side of that, it was like $1,300.
Holy cow.
So literally when I was planning the trip, I looked at, and you can go in and go from day to day. And I looked at, and it's like, well, our choices were the 28th or the 31st. And the way that we had scheduled stuff, it's like the 28th would have made things really tight. We wouldn't have had as much time to visit with his brothers and stuff. And I said, we're retired. We don't have to be back at a certain point in time. So we went with the 31st, and it allowed us a little bit more flexibility. And it was a great flight. It was nice and roomy, real food, real dishes.
Yeah, it is.
And it wasn't that much more. And it was only a couple $100 more than flying regular coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I pay $500 in taxes when I fly. So
the one thing that I mentioned, I put it in Facebook, but while we were staying, the hotel we stayed at before we went to the family museum was in Emeryville, California. And I kept going, Emeryville sounds really familiar. Why do I know Emeryville? And I listened to a podcast, like I know maybe a couple of days before or something, and they're talking about, and they had mentioned Emeryville, and they mentioned Pixar. And all of a sudden I'm like laying in bed when I said, Emeryville, it's where Pixar studios are. Yeah. And it turns out it was like a mile away from our hotel.
Oh, nice. No tours
though. On our way to go see my brother, we drove down, and you can park out in front and you can take pictures of the studio entrance.
It was Sunday, so you could,
and they don't
do tours.
They don't do tours anyway. But you could do stuff. You could take pictures. They had like one of the seagulls from Finding Nemo. Rest in peace, Nemo, since you're
a fish stick now.
There was a seagull sitting on they have on top of one of the buildings, and they have the Pixar ball and the little lamp that's inside, and so it's like one more step of Disney.
Yeah, that's awesome. So between the New Orleans, the cruise, Disneyland, and I'm going to wrap the family museum and visiting with family in the same one, what was the highlight of the entire trip?
I like all my children equally. I love all of them.
Okay, your brothers are going, how could they not say visiting your brothers?
I mean, the cruise was something we'd looked forward to for a year and a half. Traveling through the Panama Canal is something that people who cruise lots and lots never get to do. I mean, we've been to Alaska. We did Alaska with you. And we've been to other places. We've traveled around the world. Luckily, we've had that chance. But getting to go through the Panama Canal is something which was very unique.
In our two families combined, the folks that have gone through the Panama Canal are his brother John, my nephew Aaron took a 40-foot sailboat through. My parents went through the canal on a 100-day around the world cruise, and we've been through it.
Nice.
And
how about you, Lisa? What would you say was the highlight?
It's tough. I mean, I enjoyed every part of it. Probably in many ways, it was our friends coming out from Michigan and doing Disneyland and DCA with us, because we do Disney World when they come down here. They fly in today. And so it was being able to do that with them and,
nice.
And share.
I was going to say them. That too.
It's always, it's nice to do things together as a couple, but it's a lot of fun when you have other friends that you can meet up with and join together with and share together with.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you too for coming on. We're well over our time limit here, but that's fine. We'll make it up next week. we'll have a shorter show next week.
That barn's going to get cut real short.
Yeah. Walt's barn is going to be a shorter show. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on. This was awesome. I'm glad we were able to sit down and do this for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Do you want to tell Ken or you want me to?
Ken, take it away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.